Hello everyone and welcome here to the stream. This is Playing EU today. That is a lie. I hope you're all well. I'm just gonna make this say patch notes, woo, because the patch notes have gone live. You can see in the client itself that Li-Ming with her fancy background is in fact now officially in the Nexus. Can we, oh, she's talking to us. Oh, fireworks. Can I click them? There's got to be... Ooh. That's cute. Oh, yeah, we got monkeys and dragons. Oh, yes. And even Jaina up there with her new Lunar Festival skin. How festive, the Lunar Festival Li-Ming, all being launched at once. It's very Nexus-y. And they are just going to keep on going. That monkey just cannot be caught. Illidan is doing his darndest to catch them. This patch is a rather large patch for Heroes of the Storm. Just across the board, right? There's a lot of big changes here that have been made to the game. So we're actually going to run through and read the patch notes quickly. Now, we're not going to read each and every little thing. We're really just going to take a look at the heroes and the changes that have officially been made. Yet the PTR had been live for a full week, so a lot of people already have a decent idea as to what is new with the game. But in case you are not aware yourself, let's actually take a look. So on the Heroes of the Storm website, you can see Li-Ming has been launched. There's a new special event. That's a Lunar Festival. You can read all the details there in Heroes of the Storm. We've got some new portraits, all very cool. Li-Ming, yes, I mean, we've already done a few videos on her, so we don't really need to break her down. There's some changes to art, some changes to the naming structures of a variety of things. I mean, we've got monsters now. They're calling like a new classification of some heroes. Just the way certain abilities and certain heroes affect minions versus monsters. And monsters are basically the battleground version. A bunch of updates to Illidan and a variety of his skins, which is, I'd say, much needed. He looks way cooler, and he just feels like a cool hero now. And Illidan will probably be more viable in this patch due to a lot of the changes. He got a little bit more damage himself, and then heroes like Rhaegar getting big buffs can really pair well and be a nice like indirect buff for Illidan in general. And bunch of new bundles. There's a ton of bundles. We can actually look at those in the client really quickly. We can see all of these bundles that have been added. We have the Li-Ming Star Princess bundle, the Lunar Festival bundle, which I already bought like a sap. These two new skins really quite awesome. And the the Lunar Dragon mount, not Water Dragon, not Lily's mount. Not the biggest fan of the mount, but I'm really stubborn and I want to own every mount in the game. So Blizzard owns my credit card. We have this heroine bundle, healer bundle, healer ultimate bundle, Space Lord. Yeah, just a bunch of new bundles for people that are getting started with the game. This is just really good if you want. It's like this is a very nice little, you got one of each role pretty much. You've got a healer, you've got a melee, and then you've got a range. Sure, you don't have a warrior, so only a pseudo warrior, but it's still a nice little balance bundle for a new player. Apparently, I don't own the skin, and I don't think I need it. All right, well, continuing on with the patch notes very quickly. The UI, the custom game UI. You can now choose the custom game lobbies for the new pick hero drop. What? Oh, whatever. This is just something for custom game lobbies with AI. That's just a nice little quality of life thing. I mean, we know in the PTR they had all these text changes where text is much more colorful in the game in general. I think it makes the text pop. Like when you get a crit, like you can tell that's a crit. And before, for me, the text would really just kind of blend into the game, and I stopped registering it as like anything, right? I just pretty much didn't regard the text as something that existed. So this is nice for me. They removed the kill streak flames. I feel like this is something that they're gonna, like, they say it's to improve clarity, but I feel like that's something that they could be like reworking and then launching in like a better version. Who knows? And then we've got the improved observer UI. This is just pretty much, we have the total number of gems or coins collected by that team is now displayed. So we don't have to like hit tab and, sit there and count like, all right, 8 plus 3 plus 9 plus 4. Is that enough for the turn? We don't have to do that anymore. That's kind of nice. Good for the viewer, good for the casters, good for the players. Also, that affects the in-game client as well, not just the observer client. Ping spam reduction. However, will I get my teammate to you know, do anything if I can't spam, right? No, people should listen to the first or second ping, so you can't spam pings for days. Yeah, here's that monster thing we talked about. Scrolling through, forts and towers do 50% more damage. That's a big change. Cores now have a big shield, actually custom to each map, where you can tell the core is invulnerable while the keeps are still active. Visually, it's cool, and for players that aren't really, you know, aware that yes, you cannot hurt the core while the keep is alive, or all keeps are alive. It's just a good change in general. In Dragonite, the channel time has been reduced. I don't remember that from the PTR. That's kind of cool. That's kind of a big change. Cooldown reduced from 8 to 10. All right, so the kick is a lot better now. That's interesting. And the damage reduction from structures has been increased. So he's going to take a little bit less damage from structures. They nerfed the Arcane Punisher because he was OP. And they changed it so that this is a really nice change. And basically the Goblin Sappers on Towers of Doom, on the bottom half of the map, if you have already destroyed the bottom bell tower, keep, whatever you want to call it, if you've already destroyed it, the Goblin Sappers would opt to walk up to the mid lane and attack that instead. But it's kind of beneficial to have that bottom lane down, because those Goblin Sappers, even if there's no keep for them to kill, if they make it across the finish line, basically that last line on the backside of your opponent's base, they do damage. Each one that crosses the line does 1 damage to their base. And I always found it just like overcomplicated, the fact that they would go to different lanes and there was like ways to time it and abuse it so they would still go to the bottom if you killed them. I don't know, it was weird. So that's gone. They've just normalized it. They will always go down the bottom lane. Now always travel to the bottom lane. Makes sense. People won't be confused by that, because I'm sure a lot of people were confused by that. Try mode, there's a new healing dummy, so you can sit there and spam your heals and, you know, see exactly what affects what in terms of talent, see, you know, test things for yourself. Healers had no real way to test changes. I know Dreadnought was trying to test the Malfurion regrowth changes a few weeks ago, and, you know, he would have to run up to the enemy team's watchtower in try mode and, like, hit regrowth on himself and just be like, is this better? I'm not sure. And it's just kind of awkward. So having the dummy for that, just huge quality of life change. Down to the heroes, the big things. We're actually going to be talking about Cho'Gall in a daily quest later today, but they've made a lot of changes to him. So the Cho'Gall daily quest today isn't going to have a full talent run through because his talents are receiving a big change, but it still is a really it's more going to be about how to draft Cho'Gall. That's going to be the theme for that episode, which will be at 2 p.m. today. So very soon. That's actually going to be in about an hour. We'll play a little bit before then. The Eye of Kilrog talent, huge buff to that. I mean, this is just an overall buff. Basically, Gall gets more damage and a little bit more utility. I mean, level 1, he can have Shove. That gives him a slight bit of control, and that's flexibility for getting you and your ally out of bad spots. The Eye of Kilrog upgrade, this is huge. I mean, 4 charges. It's like a mega scouting drone. Like, this is a scouting drone on crack. And then you just got a little bit more damage across the board. The big buff to Twisting Nether, it now actually feels like a good heroic. Before it just really kind of felt meh, but it's a big AoE slow, 50% now from 40% around Cho'Gall, and the detonation feels impactful. It feels responsive, and it feels like it hurts. So Twisting Nether, I mean, we could definitely see some cool things, especially if we see, you know, Cho picking up Upheaval, and then you follow that up with Twisting Nether, and then your allies follow up for those big plays. Definitely some cool opportunities that could be done with that, but definitely Shadow Bolt Volley is still going to be very good. Illidan, very slight buff. This is a minuscule buff to his auto attack, but you have to remember that his trait heals him from his auto attack damage. So, you know, this is going to give Illidan just a slight bit more power, which also gives him a slight bit more sustainability. You have to be very careful as you tweak him, because he's the kind of character that if he's so fragile, right? If you make him too good, Illidan just wins games. And he's the type of hero that when you're winning a fight with Illidan, you're winning that fight. He just keeps going to town. So, like I said earlier, I mean, paired with, maybe it was just on Twitter, but paired with Rhaegar, this guy's going to be a beast. Rhaegar's got some huge changes. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. Jaina, Ring of Frost, it's just kind of like a visual improvement. I mean, no real buff, no nerf, just visual improvements here to Jaina. Lunara, huge change. They've recently buffed the poison damage on Lunara and her hit points. So Lunara has already gotten better to the point where she is a good hero, in my opinion. I think she certainly has a place in competitive heroes at this point in time. The issue with Lunara for a little while now has just strictly been her auto attacks don't really feel that responsive. They feel clunky. They feel like, ugh. And if you're in melee range and she goes to do her stupid, I'm going to smack this minion animation, it takes 10,000 years and you're going to like move before that auto attack even goes off. So they've upped the animation speed of her range by 50%, which is nice. It was pretty good, but now it's great. And then 300% on her melee, good. The other big change is just the Wisp. I mean, the cooldown reduction is significantly more important than the mana reduction cost. The fact that it's down to 30 seconds, it's actually a pretty good talent. The Wisp now, there's more than one viable talent. It's not just the time lost Wisp. The one, I think that's the right name. I get all the names confused. The one that would make it respawn twice as fast when it's dead, make the cooldown double the recharge rate. You can now go for the splitting Wisp. You can go for the movement speed on the Wisp. There's a lot more options available for that Wisp. Nova is pretty much a different hero. She used to be I'm going to snipe you and you're going to die style hero, right? That's just pretty much exactly what it boiled down to. She was all about snipe and then one in the chamber, and then just quickly getting a lot of burst that the hero couldn't sustain through, and they'd be dead. And this caused a lot of grief for players at like probably most players, I'd say, because of how frustrating it was to fight a stealth hero that you're not used to looking for the shimmer, and then suddenly you're dead. You're walking around, and then something killed you, and you don't understand what happened. I'm sure that happened to plenty of people. And at the highest level, this made Nova viable in some rare situations, but she wasn't by any means a standard competitive hero, and she hasn't been for a very long time. So I don't think these changes will really affect the competitive scene too much, and it's just going to make the quality of life much better for everyone else. In my opinion, she's significantly more fun to play with this new style. Like, she lost a ton of talents, but she gained a lot herself. So, I mean, we can actually just quickly look at Nova here in the game, and, you know, that nothing's changed with her core abilities. Did she get... No, she didn't get no skins this patch. But what they did do to her is she now has these level 1 talents. I mean, you can go for Mana Wall Cloak. This is a lot of mana... Nova, you need to be quiet, girl. We can get a lot of mana regen. We can get movement speed. This is basically... It's almost like being mounted while you're cloaked, and this is just a very fun, like, very mobile version of Nova. You can go for the increased cast range and penny shot, which is, you know, pretty good, but it also gives you next basic auto attack range 30%, so that's going to allow you to do safer poke from a distance, which is quite cool. And then you can get the increased slow for every second that she's cloaked. Now this, I don't know how good this is going to be. Maybe with like another assassin, like maybe the Nova Zeratul is now like really scary if you go for this talent. You run around as a ganking pair and you just find that target, you slow them down, you blow them up. Could be really cool. I don't know, but honestly, I think all of these options are pretty good. Like, you just want to have fun, run around really fast, and be quick between lanes so you're hard to predict as to what lane you're in. With advanced cloaking, you never have to like mount. I mean, mounting up is it's not that big of a deal, which kind of is a good argument against this. But it is still quite nice, and if you can kind of scurry away at the edge of battle and just barely escape the clutches of your opponents, this gives her some mobility. Sure, her cloak does have to be activated, and it's hard to get away from a lot of heroes, but in some situations, this could certainly be the difference between life and death. She got a full Lunara treatment where she has a talent tier of all the same thing, Hollow Decoy upgrades. You can get just massively reduce the cooldown and mana reduction. You can get additional cast range on it, or duration. And the thing about duration is so many people are used to looking, if they're not sure which Nova is real and they see the clone and they're both kind of wiggling around doing this dumb little pacing back and forth, they're gonna wait that specific time frame of like 4 seconds for that clone to dissipate and disappear. But if that clone's alive for like 9 seconds, 10 seconds, you're gonna, oh, whoa, oh, is that the real Nova? Am I attacking the wrong one? And they might get a little bit... I probably got the timings completely wrong. It's probably more like 2 to 4 seconds instead of 4 to 9 seconds. But look, guys, numbers are hard sometimes, especially because I don't really play Nova. But I will with this new Nova style because she's much more fun in my opinion. She still has one in the chamber, anti-armor shells, but Snipe Master, a very new talent. She lost Gathering Power. And Gathering Power, of course, is as you get kills, your ability power is enhanced. And Nova was a hero that really, 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 really thrived on this, especially at the highest level. Nova's going to run around, farm Lost Vikings. It could farm Murkies, you name it, and get Gathering Power stacks. And then just be almost like the ultimate carry, where the whole game turns into, we need to kill Nova or we just can't win fights because she just hits too hard. She's killing our healers instantly. And it feels bad. It's really frustrating to play against. As the Nova, it feels great. You're just like, oh, God, this game's so easy. I'm just killing everyone. This is fantastic. I love it. She can't do that anymore. But she can get Snipe Master. And if you can hit 10 targets without missing a single snipe, you can get a lot of additional damage on your snipe. You can amplify that damage to up to 50% for your snipe. And that's significant. So this gives her burst style, but you can't miss. If you miss once, back to the start. It's not like you lose one stack, you lose all your stacks. So that's kind of a fun style that will exist. How prominent it will be, I don't know. You can use Snipe rather reserved if you did go for this style, and you just pretty much use your other abilities more prominently. And of course, if you do go for the slow here on Covert Ops for the pinning shot, that's, you know, a lot of slow on the target, easy to land that snipe, call it a day. Precision Strike, Triple Tech, unchanged, double tap. See, I like this style of Nova personally, where you run with one in the chamber, and you run with double tap, and you run with the cooldown reduction on the clones, because you're just kind of spamming abilities, and you're getting the one in the chamber damage amplification in your next auto. And she feels like kind of like a machine gun Nova. Problem being, she's still very, very, very vulnerable when you run that style, and you need to make sure that you're attacking with someone else when you do those kind of plays. But she does do a bit of damage like that. Explosive round, remove snipe mana cost and increases the range. Could be really good if you're going for some kind of crazy snipe style, but again, unless you're really confident Snipe Master, I don't really see it. Double tap feels better to me. Perfect Shot, same deal. Snipe Master builds great. Crippling Shot, still very good. Lethal Decoy, still very good. She no longer has the double clone, so you'll never see like 4 Nova clones like with Rewind ever again. That's gone. But Rewind does still exist on her. The other big change with Nova is Ghost Protocol has been picked up here, and this is basically they removed Bolt, and they gave her a similar version. Now, the cool thing about Ghost Protocol is, yes, it's an escape, but you can also cast her abilities for 2 seconds while remaining stealthed. And that's a really cool thing they've never done. Like, you retain that invisibility, and you can't lose it for those 2 seconds, but you can unload on a target and then sneak away. So you think about having advanced cloaking, 30% movement speed, and you can stay cloaked and then chunk up a target and just scoot out. That could be really fun, really cool stuff. All in all, Nova seems like a much better designed hero. I think she's going to have a lot more flexibility with her talents and then unique builds. I really can't wait to see if she is, in fact, at least viable to some extent at the highest level. But regardless, I think everyone playing the game on ladder or just in general will have more fun playing as Nova and against Nova, in my opinion. Some of the top level players would argue that she's just inherently worse, but I don't think they've actually given her enough testing to really have a solid opinion as to her full potential in the future. This is just kind of like a weird change to Lamb to the Slaughter, where you can now kind of cleanse a target outside of the Lamb to the Slaughter, but they're gonna get pulled back in. So if you cleanse Lamb to the Slaughter, you can walk away for a minute, and then that chain is gonna grab onto you again and pull you back in. So in some situations, this could be really cool because you can suppress that chain and you can dodge the precision strike or that big ability that you're stuck inside of, and maybe that would make a really big play. So it gives some kind of a response to Lamb to the Slaughter other than just like big heals or a Divine Shield or something like that. But you still cannot remove it completely, which I think is a good thing. It makes that heroic still very valuable. Yeah, this is just kind of quality of life thing here for Tychus. Zeratul got a pretty big change. They buffed his cleave damage. Shadow Assault is significantly better. They upped the range. a lot, so you can really dive in. Its duration is up by a full 2 seconds. The mana cost has been cut in half down to 50, and they've reduced the cooldown by more than half. So this used to be like a very rare ability. You'd see Zeratul rarely pick Shadow Assault, and when you did, he would pop it, and he'd go in, and he'd look kind of scary, but he didn't have that much movement with it, right? He didn't have that huge like ability to close the gap, and certain heroes could really just run away from this and be safe and be okay. Now, with this additional 37% range, his additional 2 seconds duration, and the massively reduced cooldown down to 45 seconds, he is a nightmare. Like, if you're playing a mage that doesn't have any kind of control or escape or support, and you're rotating between lanes and a Zeratul just creepily sneaks upon you in his stealth and just pops Shadow Assault, you're probably dead. Like, he's actually a nightmare with this ability, and Shadow Assault is very much a viable heroic. The possibility of Shadow Assault Bloodlust or something of that sort, you think of the new Rhaegar in general with the new Lightning Shield on a Zeratul with this ability, super, super scary. And to buff pretty much all melee assassins in the game, Abathur received some changes to his Symbiote. So Symbiote, Stab, and Spike Burst, both receiving a little bit of a damage buff here in this patch. So this is just a nice one-up to all melee heroes. I mean, it's going to be good on Sonya, it's going to be good on Thrall, it's going to be good on Butcher, going to be good on Illidan, Zeratul, you name it. Even Greymane, who is starting to see a lot of play in Korea, and he looks really good. I'm super pumped about the changes they've made to Greymane. General of Hell, you cannot use that while mounted. This is just a good change just across the board when you consider the fact that when you're playing Asmodan, every time you respawn from dying, hearthing back to base, whatever it is, when you're in the Hall of Storms, you automatically, to be efficient with Asmodan, should be casting your General of Hell in an unoccupied lane to get that lane pushed out to the best of your ability. The fact that it dismounted you forced you to kind of stay into your Hall of Storms and then remount since there's no mount time while in the Hall of Storms, and it just delayed your approach and was kind of a minor inconvenience. So this is just a good quality of life change for Asmodan. Gazlowe. Honestly, I haven't played him on the PTR. He's going to dismount when he salvages. That's a nerf to him, I guess. Duration bonus from rocket turret increases by 1. Okay, so they just upgraded this, so you can, in theory, allow your turrets to stay active for much longer with this upgrade to this talent. Additional charge level bonus increase. That's a big Goblin Fusion. You're actually going to hit pretty hard with Death Laser. And Explodium Charge, they reduce the mana cost. Nice small changes to Gazlowe. Nothing game-changing here for that hero. Innervate, they just buffed it. Rhaegar, the man of the hour. The Rhay God, I'm calling him. Basically, the best support in the game now. He's got flexibility. He's got mobility. He's got great talent options now. Diverse styles. Both heroics, as the way the game's evolving, should be viable. Bloodlust is not going to be a guaranteed pick by any means, but there will be situations where we see Rhaegar Brightwing, Rhaegar Tassadar, Rhaegar Tyrande, whatever, and Bloodlust is picked up. And why those heroes, it could be Kharazim as well. It's just, I'm thinking of supports that also have damage variations and damage application. So if you think of an Iron Fist Kharazim that also has a lot of support talents and just ability to heal, and you think of Rhaegar that's running Bloodlust, so you're sacrificing, maybe you go to Divine Palm, but you still go Iron Fists. Now you have your big heal heroic, but you also have a ton of damage. And Iron Fists plus Bloodlust could be really cool. Some cool stuff that could be happening with all the changes. But the biggest buff to Rhaegar overall is his trait. Feral Lunge used to be a level 13 talent that would allow Rhaegar to launch forward while in wolf form and do a crit to the target. 100% bonus damage from that wolf lunge. And they made that baseline. He just has that in his wolf kit now. So he basically gets these guaranteed crits. And he's got a ton of new talents that are really interesting and really powerful too. The healing totem, they nerfed it. They doubled the cooldown. Oh, no, excuse me. They reduced the cooldown, but they moved it to 4. So all other healers have those healing wards at level 4. And Healing Totem was special, right? It was its own version. The name of it has a different icon, and it was level 1. But they've moved it to level 4. And, yeah, I mean, whatever. It's just like the other healers now, I guess. The following activated talents will now dismount Rhaegar. This is a nerf to him in some ways. The fact that you could wolf form over and cleanse a target and stay in your wolf form was a big buff, because he's one of the supports that could get into the front line very safely, but not be at a huge risk. So now he will get dismounted or diswolved to cast any of these abilities. And that hurts him a little bit, but it's not a nerf that's going to counteract his buffs. We talked about the Feral Lunge change. Casting Bloodlust no longer causes Rhaegar to leave Ghost Wolf. So you can Bloodlust, and then you can get that Feral Lunge. Feral Lunge is gone. Shadow Wolf is gone, and Healing Surge is gone. Wolf Run, movement speed buff. So you're basically mounted just like everyone else. 40% movement speed level 1 if you want to go for that. We've got Blood and Thunder. Basic attacks level 7. This is basically battle momentum, but only from your wolf bite. So you're not going to get a ton of these off. But you got to remember that's your heroic timers. And you want to play Rhaegar optimally, you're going to use your wolf lunges as often as possible. So this is better than it seems. It seems, you know, kind of like, battle momentum is definitely better, but no, this is 2 full seconds reduction every time you lunge forward, and you're going to want to be lunging a lot. So it's pretty good. Hunger of the Wolf. I don't know how I feel about this one. It's like a giant killer on, it's like a giant killer mixed with blood for blood, right? 5% of the maximum health and you steal. So it's like a blood for blood on all your wolf lunges. I don't know. I haven't played around with it enough to have a strong opinion. It's interesting. It's not a giant killer. I was misreading it. I haven't tested it much myself. It could be cool. Little mini blood for blood every time you lunge in. Time will tell. Chain heal. They buffed it. They buffed it a lot. Like, one thing that Rhaegar struggled with, especially with this burst-centric meta, was primary target healing. Get that one target that's getting chunked down, burst down. He just didn't have the same kind of healing as Mouth, or even like Tyrande, level 13. Like, she was just, you know, even early game Tyrande is pretty comparable to what he was doing for those single target heals. But now they buff that. His primary target gets a lot more healing. It's a really big change. The mana cost is down. Chain Reaction's gone. That was the Lightning Shield that improved the healing on that target. They removed that talent. They moved Spirit Walker's Grace to 4, but the cost reduction has been decreased as well because they reduced the cost already of the ability. And then they redesigned Tidal Waves. It's stylistically pretty much the same. It used to be, I forget the exact wording, but it's pretty much going to function the same even with this redesign. Earth Living Enchant, when your chain heals an allied hero below 50% health, it's going to be a bigger heal. So this is the oh crap button talent, but they also have the I'd rather just have my abilities off cooldown more often. So more heals or oh crap heals. Your choice at level 13 now, which is good to have options. Like, I think there's a lot of like flexibility based on the compositions for how we're going to see Rhaegar played as a whole. Down to Lightning Shield. This is just a nice increase. It might not look huge, but this is significant. I mean, I was already saying that like Illidan, Butcher, Greymane, a lot of these big melee heroes are going to really benefit from this. They removed Empowering Charge, whatever, Reactive Spark. No one used these talents, so it's good that they're gone. And they made more interesting, way better talents to replace them. So, Earth Shield, well, Lightning Bond, we'll read that first. So you automatically grant it to Rhaegar, but it no longer benefits from talents. So basically, they created all these way better Lightning Shield talents. And if you want to cast Lightning Bond, which used to be level 16, Rhaegar gets it as well. So Rhaegar and Illidan are going to be best friends when they dive in. They can both have their little lightning shields, and they can clear waves like nothing. Rhaegar excels at pushing out mercenary camps and waves. For supports, it's like, it's him and Brightwing as probably the top 2 now. Well, Moonburn's really good at Malfurion as well. But Rhaegar is by far, like, one of the most efficient at merking, especially with the new Feral Lunge. This is just kind of like a nice thing if he was ever to merc with someone else, like Illidan, or whom I'm just going to keep using Illidan as reference. Really powerful. And then Earth Shield, this is a huge buff. So sure, they moved it from 7 to 13. Earth Shield used to be twice as, like, the previous iteration was a nerfed version of the original Earth Shield. Earth Shield was originally a shield twice as much of what we had prior to this patch. But now it's just a base 15% of their max health. So this is just, I mean, sure, it's not going to be great to throw the Lightning Shield onto a retreating Nova or a retreating Vala, but they're not the targets that those squishy targets aren't the targets you want to be using Lightning Shield on anyways. You want to be using that on those frontline heroes that are going to chunk through the health bars of your opponents, or be the big bruisers. And if they're in the front line, that's going to absorb a lot of damage at the start. 15% of Diablo's health pool is a lot of damage that's going to be absorbed and it's also going to do a lot of damage with it. So, I mean, that's just such a huge change for Rhaegar. Like, even if it's level 13, and you're considering that you've got to give up one of these healing talents, stylistically, you're front-loading your healing, right, with that shield. But you're sacrificing your ability to save your assassins and your lower health pool heroes as much. So, but for like a big health pool kind of team, this is definitely a really good talent. So level 13 talents across the board are just like super interesting for Rhaegar now, and like making that decision is stylistic based on your composition, and that's how this game should be designed. Like, this is so good. So happy about the changes to Rhaegar, especially because I just love this hero. Electric Charge increases the lightning shield radius. This is actually insane. Like, I need to load up Rhaegar to show you guys exactly how good this talent is. And it's level 1. So we're going to load up Rhaegar really quick because, like, seriously, this is a beastly talent. He's got some cool options. Level 6, the last one we'll read just really quickly, is the next damage effect is increased by 20% every time it damages an enemy hero. Stacks up to 10 times. Holy crap. We're talking about heroes that can stick to your enemies, and you can get this huge damage amplification every time the lightning shield spins and clips. How many little tether balls are there on a lightning shield, right? There's 2. So that's boom, 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 rotating around, hitting that target every single time, amplifying the damage up to 10 times. It hits like a truck. So you guys can see that's generally the normal radius of the lightning shield. You know, it's nice, it's pretty good, pretty good. But then we get electric charge, and it's actually just massive. You've got this huge radius of death balls all around you, and everything you touch dies immediately. Again, that feral lines we're talking about, now it's baseline. You jump in, you get those new numbers critting around, doing cool stuff. All good, great, and grand. Lightning Shield, much more interesting, much better talent with good talent diversity, but it's the same deal for its Chain Heal, and it's no different for Earthbind Totem. Earthbind Totem got some new talents. They reduced the mana cost. The area of effect radius has been buffed a little bit, so it now has a larger radius in which it will slow those targets. But they moved the talent for Earth Shield from 7 to 13, and now it's just got this an inherent shield, right? Is this still going to be any good when you consider that it actually benefits from the talents, I believe? Let's actually just test it really quick. So I've got that level 1 talent, and then you got to level up a little bit. Yeah. So we're going to go, let's just do it in the game real quick. We're going to go with Electric Charge, and then Stormcaller because we can, and then Farsight, and then Bloodlust, and then we wanted to get, yeah, Earth Shield. No, what was I reading? Earthbind Totem. I thought this said level 13. Sorry, guys. Move from 7 to 13. Earth Shield. Why is that under Earthbind Totem? I'm baffled. Whatever. That's just some weird wording by Blizzard in their patch notes. Anyways, carrying on. I thought that was the lightning shield that was automatically on the totem. We have the new talent, Totemic Projection. And Totemic Projection is just like a reset for when you place your totem down, right? So basically, you can put your totem down, but if you grab the Totemic Projection talent, you can reset it. It's still the same duration. It's not like it gives it a second duration or increases duration at all, but it allows you to put it down again. And I mean, this is just really good. As you're retreating, you need to reposition the totem, which is at default of 15 second cooldown. That's a really long cooldown. So having a little bit more flexibility with that talent at level 7, it's not a bad idea. It really can be very good. They also gave a huge buff to Earthgrass Totem, which it's a 90% slow. Originally that was a root, but it's a 90% slow, which used to be 1 second. But now they've buffed that to be 1.5 seconds, and that is a significant buff for the talent in general. Just a lot of control options available for Rhaegar. One of the supports that probably has the least control in the entire game, just because he doesn't have like the Root of Malfurion, he doesn't have Hammer of Justice. But these totem talents are really going to make a big difference to give him more options when it comes to just controlling the battlefield. Ancestral Healing did get nerfed. They just added 10 seconds to it. It's now from 70 to 80 seconds on the cooldown. And Bloodlust got a new nice level 20 talent. This is not baseline. This is the level 20 talent, Gladiator's Warshout, where your damage is going to heal everyone by 30% of their basic attack damage. So since Bloodlust is an ability that is designed for auto attack heroes, basic attack heroes, it's designed for the Illidan's, the Valas, the Rainers, you name it. this is awesome. This is like such a unique take on it. The global cast of it was abysmal. The game is too teamfight focused, and the global cast of Bloodlust is just kind of like, whatever, who cares? But this is actually really cool. And if you have a really, really auto attack style team, sure, you're going to be at threat from opposing presence and other things like that, but this is going to be really cool for that. Tyrande, huge nerf. This is the nerf she needs, guys. Hunter's Mark is great and balanced, but this is the nerf she needs. Uther, this is, you could actually, I don't really understand this, but I guess they just want to reduce some structure rule blow up, and people were spamming their Hammer of Justice on structures, I guess. I don't know. Hammer of Justice is the name of that ability. Cho'Gall is what I wanted to say. And it got some nice quality of life things. I think Gall got more buffs than Cho. Again, Cho'Gall is not the hero I play the most of, so I don't have the strongest opinion on him. He's definitely going to be more viable. We've already seen him played in Korea. We saw him played in North America by a few teams. Some troll comps, but some serious comps as well. And these buffs could definitely... He was already on the brink of viability. And I almost think he probably was viable in his last form. There's just certain things like Seven-Sided Strike that are really scary for him, but he has the response with things like Molten Block. So Cho'Gall is in a very good place, and don't be too surprised if you see him in competitive soon. Like, honestly, with these changes, the buffs you're giving to Cho and Gall could be scary. Sonya is probably one of the biggest nerfed heroes in this patch. So they nerfed her primary damage a lot, and they nerfed her splash damage a lot, but they also nerfed follow-through. So Sonya really just kind of got dumpstered. She's going to be far less priority than a hero like Thrall when it comes to those melee type heroes that we see a lot of. There's a good chance that we're going to see her replaced by a lot more Shadow Assault Zeratul play. Could be more Illidan play with some of the changes made to the game in general. So Sonya, you're going to see a lot less of her, I think. This hurts her quite a bit. I kind of wish if they gave her this, they gave her a little bit more sustain to make her like, if they want her to be more of a warrior than an assassin, give her something that makes her more of a warrior. But this is just kind of like, this feels bad. This hurts her a lot. I'm not going to read the bug fixes and all this stuff. I think the one other big change is the fact that Chen, Flying Kick, has finally been fixed. Flying Kick for a very long time didn't really work right. You wouldn't necessarily always pass through the target. Sometimes it wouldn't even do damage. And that bug, that functionality like that, really, really, really hindered the potential of Chen as a hero. And Chen is a hero that has like huge potential in the game. So Chen could also really rise up to take that spot of Sonya as a frontline bruiser that can tank a lot of damage and really be an annoyance in the fights. He doesn't have the stun, but he does have the control. And when it comes to the slows and the body blocking available at the top level, I really think we'll see a lot of Chen's. Chen's super fun, so that's a good change for him. There's a lot of other little changes. All in all, this is a really, really nice patch here put out by Blizzard. A lot of great changes. The viability of several heroes like Lunara and Greymane, two of our newer assassins, has gone way up. And we should see them seeing much better results in games across the board. Nova's way more interesting. The new Rhaegar is scary. I'm afraid that it's too good, honestly, but I'm super excited to see it all unfold. And yeah, just in general, it's going to be a very fun experience seeing all of this unfold. So that does it for my patch notes rundown. We're going to jump on over and play some Li-Ming, level her up today. And of course, we'll be doing a Cho'Gall daily quest after just about one game of Li-Ming. Then we'll play more Li-Ming after. Thanks for watching the patch notes breakdown. Be sure to follow, subscribe, all of that beautiful stuff. GG.